Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the channel. I am your boy Killuaboom, and I am your coach of the NJ Go Dangles, and we are here with a very exciting video. It is our draft recap for the GBU. So if you guys have not heard of this league, it is a league that is made by John Jr., OG Albina, and Obo, which I'm super excited and super honored that I was asked to join. When John Jr. asked me, I really couldn't believe it, man. It was pretty awesome. This is going to be a really fun league full of amazing coaches. So make sure you guys do check out the video that John Jr. put out that explains the rules and everything about the league and all the coaches that are going to be in it, so you guys can follow all of them. Make sure you do join the Discord that I'll put in the description, and also I'll put the link of the introduction video that he made so you can kind of get an idea of what the whole league is about. But pretty much this video is just going to be me going over my team, so let's get right into that. So I was actually overall first pick for the draft, which is crazy. Some crazy stuff was allowed, things like Urshifu, Single Strike, the dark version, Chiampao, Palafin, Dragapult, all these cool mons. But one of them that was allowed that I was never ever allowed before in any draft that I've ever been, so I wanted to pick it up because I don't really think it's gonna be allowed much at all in any other leagues that I'm gonna be in, and that monster is Darkrai. Yes, Darkrai. So our first overall pick is Darkrai. We were number one for the whole draft, so we got to pick anything we wanted, and I picked this thing because just looking at his stats, you have a crazy special attack of 135, a speed of 125, which is rapid. It outspeeds a lot of the common mons that you see walking around in the draft league. And it's bulky too. It has 70 HP, which is okay, but it has 90 defense, 90 speed def, which is awesome. It has 90 attack, which is also good because it does get things like sword stance and stuff like that with priority sucker punch. But mainly it's going to be a special attacker with nasty plot, with Dark Pulse, of course, is one of its biggest stabs. It also gets coverage for things like fairies with Sludge Wave. It gets knockoff if ever needed. This mon is going to be very hard for people to plan for. It gets a lot of utility moves like Will-O-Wisp, Thunder Wave, things like that. Taunt is going to be awesome. I'm excited to use this thing. It's going to be an extremely good breaker for the rest of our team. And hopefully I drafted a team that's going to synergize well with it. That's kind of like the whole plan of going with Darkrai here. But I'm super excited about this mon. Let's see if we can use it very well. We know it's most likely a broken mon, so hopefully we can kind of show that it is broken and it shouldn't be allowed in draft. But that is Darkrai. Let's move on to the next mon. The next mon that I did want to pick, again, I want to synergize with Darkrai. I want something to be able to come into fairies defensively and even offensively at times. So that mon is Jirachi. So we pick up Jirachi. I've used Jirachi in the past, in past generations. Really cool mon, base 100 stats all around. It gets things like Stealth Rock, so now we have some hazards starting off very early in the draft. Jirachi's cool. It's very hard to plan for, especially with a combination with Darkrai. To be able to plan for Jirachi, like is it going to be defensive? Is it going to be offensive? Is it going to be mixed? Is it going to be Calm Mind or Cosmic Power, Stored Power? This thing can just be pretty much anything, and it's going to be very hard for the opponents to prep for it because maybe they'll prep for a defensive one and bring an offensive one, and it becomes a little bit tougher for them. There's also sets like Choice Scarf, Ironhead with Serene Grace, and just pretty much flinch the opponent to death. And I've had that in the past with things like Togekiss, where I ran its Scarf and Air Slash, and I've pretty much just won because I flinched someone to death. So it's very annoying, but hey man, like we picked it up, and that's kind of what Jirachi does. It tries to hack the opponent whenever it can. But overall, very defensive mon. It can take on fairies super easily for Darkrai, so I'm very excited for Jirachi, and we'll see how this thing does. Next up, we picked another mon that can synergize pretty well with Jirachi and Darkrai, and that is Dragonite. So this is a mon I've wanted to try for so long. Its base speed is 80, which is not the fastest. It's decently slow when it comes to this generation, but the bulk is amazing fused with multi-scale. It makes this thing super threatening. Another versatile mon that, yeah, most weeks you might want to run like, offensive Dragon Dance, or even like run with a special attacking move like Hurricane, Flamethrower, take on those steals. but this thing can be very bulky. It can be like a very mixed, bulky Dragon Dance set, or it can just be an annoying mon that just sits and roosts and encores in front of your face. I'm super excited to use Dragonite. Another reason I did pick it is because I wanted to have some good priority in this draft. I didn't really have it for my PDD draft. I didn't have good reliable priority that you can constantly use through multiple turns. So with Dragonite, I get that with Extreme Speed, which is very, very useful. If I can set up Dragon Dance and then Extreme Speed have the team low enough, I can literally just win with that. Even if something's scarfed, I might be able to still win with Dragon Dance Extreme Speed. And this thing can set up on a lot of things. It can punish scarfers that are stuck on like certain moves, like fire moves and things like that. But Dragonite, super cool. Wanted to use it for so long. Never was able to use it until right now. So I'm super excited. And this thing just works well with Darkrai because it can take fighting moves, it can take ground moves for Jirachi, fire moves for Jirachi. Darkrai and D-Knight, they share the fairy weakness, but this is just another mon that a fairy might want to come into that we're going to chip it away and Darkrai can just pretty much win. So I think that's a good way to synergize offensively pretty much. So that is Dragonite. Next up, we do pick up our fairy to finish up our Fairy Dragon Steel Core, and that is Azumarill. So Azumarill, one of my favorite fairies, if not my favorite, but it's definitely like top 3. Azumarill is really cool. It's got different abilities, but the ability I'm always going to use is Huge Power. There's no reason to use anything else because this thing can be very bulky with its base 100 HP. And then with Huge Power, it's a very bulky offensive mon. As you can see, it's kind of like a pattern we've drafted with the last 3. Bulky offensive mons that can work either just being an annoying wall or being an annoying wall with like physical or special attack that can break through your team and leave the door wide open for things like Darkrai. But Azumarill, a fairy that we needed, a water type, a bulky water is always good to have, and there are things like Chian-Pao running around, so I think Azumarill is a pretty good check to Chian-Pao. Obviously it's not gonna be able to constantly check it because it can get worn down, but it's something that can come in and at least threaten it and maybe threaten other things on the opponent's team. So I'm super happy with Azumarill. I've used it in PBA, so I'm excited. We're going to be able to use Azumarill, Belly Drum Azumarill, Aqua Jet more priority, gets knockoff also, which is something really huge, something that it recently got through the DLC, so I'm super excited to use Azumarill. Next up, I wanted to get something that's a very offensive fairy killer, and that is Gengar. So Gengar, my favorite mon in Pokemon in general. I just love how this mon looks. It's freaking amazing. But pretty much why I got it, like I said before, is that 130 base special attack with poison stab. So that's going to be able to take on fairies really, really well. We do have some momentum on our team with Jirachi being able to U-turn and things like that, which can go right into things like Darkrai or things like Gengar. So I think Gengar is going to be cool. It's a grounded poison. I'm not really sure how well it plays this generation, but for all the other generations, always a very good reliable mon. Ghost Stab is super, super beneficial to have. But again, the poison typing, we also get toxic spikes and a lot of really cool things. And then the 110 base speed to be able to have that gap filled in for us, because Jirachi was base 100 and Darkrai is base 125, so now we have like something somewhere in between to kind of fill in between that gap. So Gengar fit extremely perfect, very offensive ghost poison type that's going to help the team all around, and again immune to things like fighting moves that would hit Darkrai also, which is pretty awesome. Next up, I wanted to get another very strong physical attacker that's going to be a little bit more speedier than Dragonite, and that is Galarian Zapdos. So this is a mon I've wanted to try for a while also. I just love its design. I love regular Zapdos, but this one I think just looks so much cooler. I just love the color scheme a lot. But the ability with Define is awesome because you can take advantage of things like Defog or Parting Shot or any little mechanic like that that will normally drop your stats. It's going to give us a +2 boost, and this thing at +2 you do not want to mess with. I really like the combination of fighting and flying. Not a lot of things can really take both stabs. You know, fairies don't really want to take like very strong brave birds or Steel types don't want to come into flying type moves when the other stab is a freaking close combat or a thunderous kick. So I think the combination of what this Pokemon brings is very, very good for our team, and it pressures very offensively, and it's another base 100 speed along with Jirachi. The thing though, it's very different than Jirachi, obviously. You know, this thing can run Scarf as well as Jirachi can, but this one does it much more effectively. But it can also have like bulk upsets, Choice Bandit, anything like that, heavy duty boots, whatever I want to play around with this mon would work, and it's extremely bulky, so I'm very excited to use it. And it's not weak to rocks, even though we do have two flying types now. This one's not weak to rocks, which is pretty good because hazard removal is a pain to be able to get this generation. But I'm super excited to use this mon. Also having really good momentum with U-turn to U-turn out of psychic types and go into Darkrai and just pretty much go ham. Also gets knockoff now after DLC, which is freaking broken. I think that makes this mon so much better that it gets knockoff. So I'm super excited about Zapdos, and hopefully we can make it shine with the rest of the team. Next up, I wanted to get something that can remove hazards. So what I picked up was Toedscruel. So Toedscruel, I think it's a decent mon. We're gonna have another 4 times weakness to ice, which is not good, but at least we can kind of play around with that because we do have Jirachi and Azumarill, and you'll see some other mons later on that come in to help us with that. But this thing's gonna be cool. Not really much to speak about this thing. It gets knockoff, it gets obviously like stab, leaf storm, earth power, it gets spore, rapid spin, and then we also have spikes, rocks, and toxic spikes. So this thing all around is just a very good utility mon. It's very fast, also a base 100 speed for something that's bulky, and it also helps us to be able to take on some more ground moves with that grass typing. And yeah, I'm excited for this thing. It's gonna be fun. And not really much to talk about it. It's here just to get rid of hazards and put up hazards. So that's gonna be Toedscruel. I think it fits pretty well with the team. We just have to be careful with the ice moves because we are pretty weak to that with Zapdos and Dragonite also. But we do have Jirachi, thankfully. Next up, we actually decided to pick up our Tera captain, and that is Meloetta. So I'm very excited to use this thing. We ended up making it Tera normal and Tera fairy. Two very good typings. Fairy is good defensively and offensively, and normal is just going to be very good because this thing's already a normal type, so it gets the boost, the stab boost plus the Tera boost, hyper voices, or pretty much any normal type move. And I really like this mon because you can play around with 2 different forms. You could do the I forget what it's called, the other form, but it's a lot faster, it's physical, and it's the fighting type. So it's gonna be very scary to have the physical form also. But a Calm Mind version of this thing is very bulky, also based on 100 HP, 128 speed def. You have to be very careful with this thing because, again, it's very versatile, so you have to plan accordingly. And if it does come out to be like a physical set, it's gonna be a little bit scary. So I think me just trying to build a team that can be very versatile is kind of like my plan. With Jirachi, Dragonite, and like Meloetta, they can kind of be very different sets that it's gonna be a little bit difficult to plan for. But that is our Meloetta. We also got this one because we wanted a normal type to be able to come into ghost type moves, which is going to be very important because Jirachi is weak to it. We have Darkrai, but we don't want that thing to take too much damage. And yeah, that's Meloetta. So that's our Tera captain. Next up, we picked up Piloswine. So I picked up Piloswine because, yeah, we already have a ground type, but these 2 ground types are very different. This one's just strictly more of one that's going to be taking hits. We also have thick fat on Piloswine, which helps us with what's it called, ice moves, which is pretty awesome. I do very much like that. Like I said, we have 2 mons that are 4 times weak to ice, so we wanted to have something that can be able to come in pretty well and also gets Eviolite. There are a few more mons that picked up knockoff after DLC, but it's still not as widely widely spread throughout all the mons like it used to be in other generations. So Eviolite's going to be a lot easier to keep on for Piloswine. And this is going to be another stealth rocker, which is always good to have. And base 100 attack is really good. It's really not something that you can sleep on. I used Piloswine in the past many times. I've always loved this mon, so I'm very happy to have it here in this draft. And I think overall it kind of fills in the holes that we were having with the team. So it's a very good low tier mon. So I'm very excited about our young boy Piloswine. And next up, our next 2 picks were just pretty much filler things that could possibly help us. They're not the best mons in the world. But next up, we have Electrode. It is not going to be Tera, but Electrode's cool. It's just fast. It's an electric type. It gets light screen or reflect. It gets light screen, yeah. It gets light screen. It could be like explosion. It has some decent abilities, and it just helps us with electric moves, which is always good to have. Again, very fast mon. It's not as good with Tera. There's not really much to talk about this thing. You can run it modest almost every single week if you want to, because of how fast it is. So that's Electrode. If a team is weak to electric moves, you know this thing is gonna come and it's gonna be very annoying. So I'm pretty excited to have our boy Electrode here. And then the last mon that we do pick up is Quaxwell. So Quaxwell, 1 point, is going to be another Tera that we have. It's going to be Water Grass. It gets Rapid Spin, and it's really bulky. I did a lot of calcs with it with Eviolite. It's extremely bulky. And yeah, not much to really talk about this thing. Who knows if it's ever going to come, but it is a cool mon, and you really can't just sleep on it. It does actually wall a lot of things that I actually calced, and I'm not going to say what I calced, but yeah, it's crazy how I can live certain mons that I was very surprised. But that's pretty much the team, guys. I hope you guys do like it. This is going to be the team we're rocking with for GBU Season 1, and I hope you guys do like the team. Let me know which mon is your favorite. Let me know what you would change, or if you even like the team. But the matches will be going up on Saturdays, so you look out for that. Every Saturday we're gonna have our matches, and I hope you guys did enjoy this, and I'm super excited for the league. Make sure you check out all the coaches. Make sure you join the Discord fan channel. Make sure you support your NJ Go Dangos, and especially make sure you do leave a like and subscribe, guys. So I will see you guys for week 1 next Saturday. Peace.